Awesome. Okay, welcome. Excited to be sharing some of this information with you guys. I'll just let Megan in tonight because sleep is a real problem for a lot of people. And if we can, have tools in our home and know have things to reach for, it can be incredibly impactful. Hey, Megan, nice to see your face. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and don't laugh at all my terrible tabs open. It's a picture of my mind. But I'm gonna share these slides with you all just so that you can kind of follow along with where I go with this. So this is what we're going to cover. We're going to try and give you some education, some tools, and some options for your toolkit around, particularly around kids, but this stuff works for adults as well, which is brilliant. So after tonight, hopefully, you guys will feel incredibly empowered and basically have options to use like essential oils. Obviously, is what I love and what I will come to at the end. But I'm going to share a whole lot of other things as well around lifestyle, around supplements, and around environmental cues and triggers that we can use to optimize sleep as well. So some of you on the call tonight are already part of my community. But for those of you who are not, please don't feel overwhelmed by all of this information and think that you need to remember everything right now because you don't. I have a beautiful community that you will get access to if you do decide to grab some essential oils and some holistic tools through me so that you can get that ongoing education at the pace that works for you. So let's talk about why sleep is so important. Let's kind of set the stage for this information that we're going to learn tonight. So I think, these kinds of things can be quite alarming, but memory and learning issues, like a whole lot of cognitive things go on for our kids when they're not getting enough sleep. And this kind of makes sense, right? Because when our brain is sleeping, it's in repair mode. And if we don't allow their bodies that restorative sleep. I remember when I was a brand new mother, someone said to me, look at sleep like a nutrient. And I never forgot that. And so I really like right from the start prioritized sleep as much as I could for my kids because yeah, it is a nutrient to them essentially, particularly when they're young, but for their whole adolescent life as well. Anyway, memory, learning issues, attention and focus issues. Now, you will know, I talk about this quite a lot on social media. ADHD levels are like skyrocketing and diagnosis around that is skyrocketing. But sleep deprivation actually has some of the same signs going on that look similar to ADHD. So I'm not saying your child's ADHD diagnosis is incorrect. I'm just saying if you're starting to see those things, don't forget the sleep factor. Emotional, behavioral issues. And I mean, we know this as parents and as human beings. If we don't sleep, we struggle to regulate our emotions. I will be the first to put my hand up to that. Like, just your emotionally unstable, you potentially might snap at your kids a bit more. But also things like for toddlers, those temper tantrums, just frustration, even anxiety for some kids. There is actually a lot of research around increased risk of depression and anxiety, particularly in teenagers. Um, Weakened immune system. Now, this is also something that we often don't associate with being important for sleep. So, I speak with a lot of parents, as you can imagine, whose children are constantly unwell. And I always ask about their sleep routines because that is something that is so important to a strong, robust immune system. And I mean, I've put the science there around, those infection fighting proteins. And yeah, like it's actually a fact. Now, this was an interesting one around obesity. So, as you know, like obesity levels are skyrocketing around our globe. And the amount of time that our kids are on social media and like not sleeping, I'm not surprised because it does affect our hormones and our ability to regulate our hunger cues based on what's going on in our bodies. So very, very interesting. And then slower growth. Obviously, this is relevant for younger children that are having those big growth spurts. But when you are sleeping, that is when your body is releasing those growth hormones. So another really important thing to think about. But how does it affect us as parents? I think this is really important. Basically, all of what I just covered also affects us, maybe not the growth hormone bit, but everything else is relevant to us as adults. But we have some extra things that are going to go wrong for us around cardiovascular issues, which when I first learned this, I was like, quite startled that it had such a strong correlation to things like heart disease, high blood pressure, and even heart attacks and stroke, which is quite scary. Things like diabetes, increasing type 2 diabetes rates, and then hormone imbalance. Like if a woman comes to me wanting to look at starting to regulate and nourish her hormones, we always talk about sleep because, again, looking at that stress hormone, cortisol, you will know, and, you know, the benefit of having a really strong circadian rhythm, really high melatonin levels at night and really high cortisol levels in the morning where they should be high. So yeah, that's a little bit kind of setting the scene on you know, what the problem is and why we need to address it, basically. So what can we do? So again, this is child specific, but a lot of this can also be adapted for us as adults. So don't forget that. So environment. Think about how much light exposure your child is getting before bed. Now, in my home, we try and use red lights when the kids are, you know, in their bedroom and having that, you know, 20-minute unwind period before sleep. And what that's doing is it's basically removing all of the blue light from their environment so that it's not triggering that the cortisol release, and it's helping that melatonin, which is your sleepy hormone, to come forth. Think about noise in the room. Like if your child likes noise, you know, you can be using the noise machines. If your child doesn't like noise, think about some kind of soundproofing if needed, if you've got lots of road noise or things like that. Now, there's been some research done on the temperature, the optimal temperature for really good sleep, and it's around 15 to 20 degrees. So if your child is too hot, that might be an issue, or too cold. So think about some kind of thermostat in the bedroom during winter if you can. Now, air purifiers. There is quite a lot of research linking poor sleep to bad quality air, but also thinking about the chemicals that your child might be exposed to from their bed linen, their pillows, and all those kinds of things as well. So don't forget to think about, you know, everything that's going on around your child at bedtime in terms of their environment. So that is one part that you can address. The next one is routines. Now, this, I think you will know, is very, very important for children. So consistent routines is so, so important for your child and for just nourishing that beautiful circadian rhythm. So one thing that works really well for my girls and for a lot of my community is something called aromatic triggering. So this is where you choose a particular aroma, so a particular kind of essential oil, and you actually diffuse that oil in the child's bedroom at the same time of night every single night. And what that does is it actually cues the subconscious brain and gets your brain to associate that aroma with bedtime, with calming, with unwinding. So it can be incredibly impactful for your child to incorporate that. Other things, like we already talked about, lighting cues. So maybe you do invest in a red light lamp for, you know, reading the bedtime story, so that it's just kind of triggering your child in terms of the actual brain chemistry and what's going on around them for what's about to happen. Other things you might want to incorporate, and likely you already do this, but you know, having like a bath before bed, and maybe incorporating some beautiful essential oils in there as well can be a really great way to extend that sleepy time window as well. But the other one I wanted to touch on is diet. Now, there are quite a lot of foods that we can leverage that are going to help our bodies produce certain neurotransmitters that are going to help with sleep. So things like magnesium write down that, magnesium and tryptophan. Now, you can just chuck that into Google or like Chat GTP and just say what foods have high magnesium or tryptophan, and you'll get massive big lists. Kind of write it down, try and incorporate those kinds of things around bedtime. Maybe it's a snack before bedtime. You also don't want to forget your omega-3s. Now, these actually help with that regulation of melatonin, which, as we've already talked about, is our sleepy time hormone, which we want high at bedtime. Complex carbohydrates, another really good one to increase that tryptophan that we've talked about. Sleep-inducing beverages. If your child loves a hot drink before bed, then there's some brands that you can grab which have beautiful sleepy time things in them, maybe some chamomile, maybe some tryptophan in there. And then timing of meals. So if you can, try and keep your child's largest meal like an hour to 90 minutes before their bedtime. It just allows their little bodies to digest their food before they're trying to sleep. Because going to bed with a massive, big, full tummy, obviously everything's all still trying to be digested down there. And so, yeah, it's just difficult for a toddler to have a lot going on. But if they're already partially digested, everything's kind of moved past the stomach, it can make things easier. So just keep that in mind as well. You're not always going to get it perfect, like, it's life, right? But just the best that you can. Now, lifestyle factors. Think about one thing that's really important, and I talk to my adult clients about this all the time, is getting morning sunlight on your eyes. Now, this sounds kind of counterintuitive because you're like, that's the morning. That's not, I don't have problem in the morning. Like my bedtime is the issue, right? But what actually happens is when you get that morning sunlight on your eyes, it's almost like it's speaking to your circadian rhythm, and it's just making it stronger and more ingrained, so that the right chemicals are going to be produced and secreted by your brain at the right times. So what actually happens is the more morning light that you can get on your eyeballs, the higher your melatonin release will be at the other end of the day. So it sounds weird, promise it works. Time in nature. So, even it's great for us coming through to the summer months because we're going to have more time outside, getting that natural vitamin C from the sun, grounding to the earth, looking at how much blue light your child's getting. If they're sitting in front of screens for 2 hours and then, you're expecting them to just naturally unwind and go to bed, like that could be something to look into, and it will be difficult. Like detoxing from screens before bed is horrendous in my experience, but it can be really, really worth putting in those hard yards to do it for quality, deep, restorative sleep for your kiddo. And the other so like fast-paced shows before bed, like it makes sense to us, right? If the child is sitting there and watching something that is lots and lots of scene changes, lots of bright colors, and just blah, 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 like Cocomelon or something like that. And then you're like, okay, turn it off, bedtime, and you just expect them to unwind. Like, it's kind of, it doesn't make sense, right? I'm not saying that any of you are doing that, but that's a dramatic example. But yeah, that is something to factor into as well. So let's talk about some supplements that are evidence-based for helping with kids' sleep. The first one is magnesium, and that I don't think will be much surprise to any of you. It's definitely the one I love parents to go to as a kind of supplement for their regime early on in their kind of sleep journey. Magnesium glycinate is the most bioavailable form, particularly for kiddos. So I really love that. This one here is the one that I use. It's from Metagenics. It is a practitioner supplement. If you need a practitioner to order it for you, just hit me up on Instagram and I'm more than happy to do that for you. But yeah, it's a really good one. It tastes great and the kids will take it. Chamomile. Chamomile contains this apigenin, which basically helps that kind of anxiety and that, helping with sleep. You guys will know I love the Haka Herbals for this, and there's a little discount code there for you. So just something that you might want to layer in. Now, vitamin D. I talked about trying to get this one here from the sun. Our kids are chronically deficient in vitamin D. I actually wrote a post about this a week and a half ago. Hopefully you guys saw that, because it's involved in so many different processes like magnesium in the body, immune system support, all of that piece. But sleep is a big one. And what they've found is that when they've looked at people that have difficult sleep, they've found a lot of them are deficient in vitamin D. So let's not let that be a reason. Let's, get their vitamin D stores up. I really like the Be Pure. This is an adult one, but I half dose it so that I give my kids 500 international units. An adult dose is 1,000. So I'm just giving half the recommended, and I find that brilliant. And the other one that's quite evidence-based is tart cherry. So this, again, it's really rich in those things that we've already talked about, the melatonin, the tryptophan, the serotonin, and all of those beautiful neurotransmitters, and are brilliant for helping us fall asleep. So you can either, give them a shot of that. My kids won't really drink it in a juice, but they will drink it if I make it into gummies. So there's a hot tip for you as well. So those are some other things. Let's have a little chat about melatonin before we kick off into some other bits and pieces, because this is something that I do talk to a lot of parents about. I'm not completely against melatonin. I just like people to know the pros and cons, right? So pros, it does often help, particularly kids that struggle with sleep-wake cycles. So for kids that have those kind of circadian rhythm disorders or jet lag and things like that, it can particularly be useful for the ASD kids and the ADHD kids. And the evidence shows us that it is not habit forming. And so it's not considered to be like an addictive kind of drug to medication to use for your kids. However, there are a few issues with taking it. It doesn't have a lot of long-term research around it. So basically, we wonder whether it does have some long-term issues with hormone development later on and impacting kids' actual growth. There is some thought that it could potentially disrupt the body's natural melatonin production, right? So you're putting this artificial melatonin into your body. So what is that actually doing to our body's secretion of that? It does in some children come along with side effects. Well, it does have side effects. Not everyone's going to experience these, and not everyone, will experience, though different people will react to things differently, right? So can cause nausea, dizziness, daytime drowsiness. A lot of kids will experience a kind of almost like a little hangover effect. And it can, in some kiddos, cause quite vivid dreams and even nightmares. So just something to know about. And the last one is, and this I think is a good one, because when you are introducing any kind of synthetic medication into your body, it obviously for some periods of time it's important, and it's going to help you get through that little period. But what they're saying is that it can mask other underlying issues, and when you're solving it with something like melatonin, you're not really diving deeper into what's going on there, right? So those are kind of just things to know about if you have considered it, or if you're already using it. I'm not going to tell you to get off it if it's saving your life. It's a season, right? But it's good to know both sides. So why I love essential oils. One of the biggest reasons, I guess, is because they are 100% natural. They don't have side effects. So some children may get like skin rashes and things like that, but that's only if it's been used incorrectly and not diluted and things like that. So we teach how to use them properly in my community as well. So what I love about oils is that as long as you are choosing high quality oils, incredibly potent oils, you can know that they are safe to use. So with essential oils, unfortunately, with the essential oil market, over 80% of them are what we call adulterated. So changed in some way, whether they're, diluted, contaminated in some way, or have synthetic markers in them. And so we want to know that what we're using on our kids is actually pure oils, right? So that's a really important piece. What I love about doTERRA oils is one of the things is how ethically they're sourced, which for me is really important. I have done quite a lot of work in developing countries in this space. And so for me, I wanted to know that people were being impacted positively by me purchasing these oils, essentially. They're very effective. Oils are very effective. They work really fast. And because an oil is a fat, and we have fat in our on our skin, but also around our cells, they're actually able to work intracellularly really fast, which is cool. And in terms of affordability, when you are spending a lot of money on potentially melatonin or days off work or, all these kinds of things because of sleep issues, this is something, in my opinion, that is incredibly economic that you can do, that is going to empower your home and just give you solutions. So how do we even use oils to help our kids sleep? So two ways, really. And I think for me, it's been most impactful by using both. So the first one is aromatic, obviously, in a diffuser, to get that oil up into the environment so that it's actually triggering your child's brain that way. In my opinion, that is, like as effective. The second way is using oils topically on our kids. So this is when we're going to dilute it to a safe dilution for our child based on the age, and we're going to roll it on their body. And a lot of people are like, where do I put it? I love chest area. I love feet. I love up and down the spine, but whatever your child likes, honestly, there's no wrong place as long as you keep it out of the nose, out of the mouth, out of the ears, out of the eyes. You're golden. The body is a canvas. So just, the reason that we say pulse points is because there is where your arteries are closest to the surface of the skin. And so that's how it's going to be absorbed into the body fastest. But honestly, treat it like a beautiful massage with your child at night. Like that beautiful touch is also really soothing and really good at bedtimes as well. And we don't do oils internally for kiddos under 13. I don't think there's been enough research yet on the effect on the microbiome. So let's just skip over that one for now. All right. So what have we got here? This is a bit of a protocol that I've put together. These are my favorite kind of constituent-based essential oils for sleep. Lavender, you will all know, you likely all have it in your home already. Very powerful for cortisol, very powerful for sleep, stress, anxiety. Also amazing for skin. So, pop it in the bath, make a skin, balm, all those kinds of things. Itchy bites, bee stings, bug bites, all of that just takes that heat and that inflammation out. So really love it for that. But it is a stock standard that most people will know for sleep. However, a lot of people, lavender just doesn't cut the mustard. It's not quite strong enough. They have children that are quite resistant. And so I will often get them to go for lavender peace. Now, lavender peace is a blend, and it obviously has lavender in it, but it has about 8 other essential oils in there that are all specific for sleep. So it really is a kind of a heavy hitter when it comes to sleep. It smells phenomenal. I don't actually love the smell of lavender, which is funny to say, but I love the smell of this oil. So really, really good oil to have in the diffuser or applied topically for sleep for kiddos, and really, really safe from even a young age. Now, valerian. Valerian is one of the newer tools that we have in our sleep kit, and there's a lot of science on valerian. So valerian actually fabulous for the central nervous system. It does something to our GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that reduces brain activity and promotes relaxation. So we want to be activating our GABA for if we're anxious to kind of calm the farm. They call GABA breaks of the brain. So it kind of makes sense to us that we want to be activating the breaks of the brain at bedtime, right? So studies show that it improves the overall sleep quality and sleep time and increases the depth of sleep, which is really cool. Also really good for kiddos if you've got kiddos that wake frequently in the night. What else? Really good for anxiety and restlessness as well. So if you do have a child that's a bit prone to anxious feelings right before bed, another really, really good one. So this one here doesn't smell incredible. I don't love the aroma, but it's really powerful. And so what I do is I do a couple of essential like drops of this one, and then I layer in my lavender piece. So I'm always doing those both just so that the aroma is beautiful, but you've got that powerhouse in there. So that is a brilliant, brilliant oil to have. Now, vetiver. Vetiver, I would say, is something that I would rely on if a child had proper insomnia. Or if you've got a child that has ASD or ADHD. Vetiver is a very, very thick, viscous oil. And the reason that I have this little dropper top on is because it's very difficult to get out of the bottle. Look at that. It's like a really viscous oil, but it's incredibly powerful. It's very, very strong. It's one of those oils that you need to clean your diffuser out after you've used it because it will linger. But it is really, really brilliant to use for overactive, overtired children and those kinds of things. So you can pop that in the diffuser or you can roll soles of the feet up and down the spine. Now, the last one that we have that is a new product is the lavender piece and valerian stick. So this is basically combined my two favorite kind of oils for sleep in this stunning, beautiful stick. Now, this is incredibly moisturizing. It just glides on the skin. It's really, really low tox. So some beautiful, beautiful kind of oils and shea butter, gorgeous application. Absolute game changer. So I recommend this for children over about the age of 18 months because it is strong. I wouldn't use this on babies. I would grab the oils themselves and I'd make up something appropriate for the dilution of the baby. But for toddlers and above, 18 months and above, absolute game changer in your toolkit. So those are those. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run you through some kind of ways to get started. Now, I know a lot of you here today have already got started, so feel free to just disregard this, but I know that there's going to be a lot of people watching this recording. So basically how it works is if you want to get some of these tools in your home, I've kind of customized some packs. Now, the reason this is so good is because you're going to get free shipping, free wholesale account to get 25% off the cost of oils moving forward, and a whole lot of other low tox products. So doTERRA is not just about essential oils, definitely the cleanest and the most pure and the only oils I'd ever use on my children. But it's a lifestyle shop. So you're going to be able to look at, 25% off the rest of your holistic home requirements. And you're also going to get free access to my holistic community. So that's where all of the ebooks live, all of the education, monthly education, beautiful supportive community for any kind of questions that you have. And yeah, where all of the kind of support and nurturing for your holistic journey comes from. So this is a kit that I put together. And I basically call it the kids sleep bundle because it's got what we've talked about today. We've got valerian, we've got lavender piece stick, we've got lavender piece for the diffuser. I've popped some coconut oil in there. Now that is because I'm going to send you some empty roller bottles in your welcome gift so that you can actually dilute those oils down into rollers to be able to use if you have a younger child than 18 months, but then you also have a toddler, or if you've got older kids. Beautiful, beautiful, for massage and anything like that. You can add on a diffuser if you want to that kit, but this is a really beautiful option if it's just sleep that you want to target. This is another way to start. Now, this here, it's called the Faves, and this has got basically the five top oils, the most used oils. You've got things in there for fevers, for headaches, for immune support, for fungal infections, any kind of skin infections, ear infections, dandruff, scalp health. You've got beautiful lemon for green cleaning. You've got lots of things for surface sprays, anxiety, sleep, covered, all the things. So this is a really awesome place to start if you're wanting to do a little bit more in your home than just sleep, but you want a lower price point. This is a brilliant place to start. And then this is the family essentials. So this is kind of like the top 10 oils. So with these, you can do like 90% of everything you need to do within your home. You're looking at things like frankincense, which is our number one oil for skin health, for anxiety, for inflammation in the body. And you've got eucalyptus in there. You've also got things like my low toxic Vicks essential oil is in there. It's called Easy Air. And you've also got digestive support. So things for tummy pain, gastro, all of that. So that's another amazing way to start. So you've got options. What I recommend is have a think about, your budget and where you want to start. If you only want to start with one oil, we can do that as well. So there's really a place for everyone. And yeah, I can customize you anything that you want. These are a kind of a few other extras that you can add on. See those roller bottles down the bottom? Those are really brilliant to add on if you want to. I will send you a couple of empty ones anyway in your welcome gift. But yeah, they're also there to add on if you wanted to. And then just a reminder that when you are taking a step and looking at the way that you approach these kinds of things from a more holistic, kind of mindful way, you don't have to do it alone. Like we have this beautiful community for questions, for support, for education. You can catch up with me on the phone and I can actually make sure that you are confident in actually using the products that you now have in your home. Yeah, I think that's all. What's the time? How did I do? Oh my gosh, I nailed it. I nailed the memo, 33 minutes. I usually take an hour. I'm so proud of myself. Awesome. Yay. Now, does anyone have any questions while you guys are live? Any kind of problem solving, anything specific that you're like, okay, I hear all that, Nikki, but like, this is my child, this is my situation, like, help me. Anything you guys want to run past me while you have me on the phone? Feel free to unmute and ask. Otherwise, I'm going to respect your time and my time and get an early night. I'll just have a quick look in the chat. If you don't want to unmute and you have a particular curly question or anything, you can feel free to write in the chat function as well. Awesome. I note the citric acid in the certs on there. Yeah, Sharon, I don't have a particular issue with citric acid. I know there's a few people out there that do a bit of fear-mongering about that. I don't personally have a problem with it. I feel like you would have a hard time using anything without citric acid. It's basically in most things. And I think it's one of those things where I far prefer to have the advantage of the product versus one small potential issue with a particular citric acid. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Take it or leave it. Yeah, but I'm fine with it. And I also think it comes down to trusting the brand. I've worked with Haka for a long time and I kind of, yeah, I trust them as a brand. If it was something else that I wasn't familiar with, I ask a few questions, but yeah, citric acid is not a big one for me personally. Cool. Any other questions, guys? Thank you so much for jumping on. Yeah, so nice to spend the evening with you. I hope that you've taken away something from tonight that you're like, that's what I'm going to implement. Yeah, and that it was helpful. Awesome. Anyone who wants to chat further about getting some tools, just jump over to Instagram. That's where you will come from and send me a message and we'll help you get started. Cool. All right, guys. See you later.
Thanks.
Bye.